Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Sofa Guys Movie Review. I'm your host, Gerard, and we are going to be talking about a few different movies here tonight. One being Shang Chi, um, Candyman. We're going to be talking about that. I know it's a little older, but we will go ahead and get to that one tonight. It was definitely a movie I needed to see, and I'm glad I got a chance to. Um, the other one will be Venom 2. There will be Carnage. Currently, my co host Cody will be here momentarily. One second. Come on in. And here he is. How was today?
It was the day. Just did a bunch of movie trivia at the work, actually.
Well, that works. See? Movie trivia at work, movie trivia here at the show as well. So it's going to be a fun day. But we're going to go ahead and get things started tonight. We're going to talk about Candyman. Now, you just recently got a chance to watch that.
Yeah, and this is unique too because for once, Jerry and I have not been able to talk about the movie before we talk about it here, which is kind of fun. So yeah, I liked it. I liked the old one a lot more, but the special effects were done incredibly well for a new age horror movie. Usually, I feel like we dive too heavy into them, and there's no plot. I really felt like there was a good balance of that in this one. It was a stronger movie than I thought, but it's definitely a Jordan Peele movie. But it was good. I think the message that it had was fantastic, and I connected to the idea of needing someone to look out or needing that connection to your work as an artist. It was a cool remake. I enjoyed it.
Now that's where I'm going to have to disagree. I mean, I do like it. Don't get me wrong, but not a remake, but an actual continuation. Uh, when you watch the movie, you'll notice that they actually talked about if anyone's seen the original movie. Towards the end of the original movie, the woman who was trying to see about the entire story about Candyman in the town was essentially burned at the bonfire.
Wow. Helen was in the first one, wasn't she?
Yes, she
I'm
was.
dumb.
Oh no, you're good. It's been a while, but because of that, that's where I thought it was brilliant. They brought in everything from the original movie, and they talked about it, and the whole idea of how the old to the new mixed in together. Like you mentioned, how with an artist in on this movie, where previously before it was a journalist who was trying to go ahead and figure out what actually dealt with the story. I mean, who is the Candyman? Who is he really? And honestly, I think in this movie, it answered it a little bit better. Now, it was a little bit different, of course, because the Candyman that we got in this movie was not Tony Todd. However, the person that they chose, I feel, actually did a great job. Creepy, had great aesthetics to the point of, just moving around in the shadows, and they did a great job with the special effects there too. I mean, he's on the screen, but you don't see it until the last second. Just definitely brilliant.
Oh yeah, I mean, and now that I consider that it being the continuation, it's a really unique medium for Jordan Peele in the sense that like, how do you take an old iconic character that we loved, and how do I use that character to tell a new story, a story that's personal to me, and still appease people, and like using that idea of like the Candyman, without giving anything away, the Candyman being more, and depending on where you are, it was just a brilliant idea as far as okay, how do I make a new story with the old character and not betray anything? And this did accomplish that. I would agree. From the beginning of the movie, seeing him emerge from the hole for the first time, that was incredible. Um, the only thing I wish they would have done more of is with the candy. It was really hard to see the razor when they finally showed it, and I was unhappy about that. Like I wanted to actually see that or get a better explanation for the bugs.
Very true. Very true. The explanation for the bugs, though, I feel that they actually answered that towards the end of the movie. With the whole portion of the end of the movie, the talking about the original Candyman, because the personification of the character is actually a continuation. So every generation, every time, someone new essentially takes upon the mantle of the Candyman and continues on with his work. But starting with the original one, which was based off of the original Candyman, Tony Todd, his character, of course, if anyone remembers in the movie, was brutally beaten, hand cut off, a hook went ahead and placed inside the stump, covered with honey, and then all the bees essentially stinging him continuously because of the honeycomb, and then set afire, which added to his character for the first movie and kind of brought into the second one. So now we see the bees as kind of as almost like, if you will, the crow from the movie The Crow, how it is the spirit that brings the character through. So we see this bees, and when wherever the bees are, essentially, we know he is near, or an essence of him.
So yeah, I can appreciate that. And now, like thinking this through. Sorry, I just got back from work, guys. Like just thinking this through. You're right, and they do have like the caricature paintings, and they do talk about that exact story. They talk about Tony Todd's Candyman and like what happened to him, and that was something that I do want to shout out with. The use of silhouette shadow puppets was brilliant. Like you can either be really amazing with that, or it can be lackluster. It performed. The only places that I truly felt that it lacked on, I wanted a little more from the story. I didn't want the same message. Context. I love the message of the movie, and it's something that I feel very strongly about, and I think there's a big conversation to be had about gentrification and the way that it kind of comes into our communities. However, the critic in the movie even kind of talks about this gentrification dialogue for the sake of woke gentrification dialogue wasn't exactly it made us know where the plot was going and where the dialogue was going at all times. So I didn't feel that I was as surprised there, whereas the surprise came from the jumps, the kills, things like that. And it has this uncanny resemblance to one of my favorite horror franchises, but one of the weakest movies in the franchise, which is Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2. I felt there was a lot of similarity in those two movies, and I don't know if that was on purpose or not. You kind of see what I mean with like him kind of coming into the role and things like that. And felt very similar to Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2 in a different way, but it still felt very similar, and it definitely had a very similar kind of ending to that. So
yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I definitely see that. On the same note that you were mentioning about the shadow puppets, that was how it was used in the movie. Aside from the fact of being brilliant, like you mentioned, but the one thing is, if anyone's not know what he's talking about, we're talking about not just shadow puppets and the like CGI or anything. We're talking about actual mechanical shadow puppets itself. Physical cutouts with these sticks. I mean, the idea done in the movie itself. I mean, you had literally the old with the new, perfect blend in together, and it was brilliant. I mean, I have to give him a lot of credit that his idea of this movie and how he went ahead and directed it, it really makes you think. I mean, there's no other way I can say that, but just it makes you think. Now, what did you think of the CGI that was used in the movie? For me, I love the idea that he was, when someone said his name and he was in the background, he was in the mirror, or he was in the reflection, they were so subtle, but at the same time eerie enough to the point that it got to you. It wasn't like a jump scare, but enough to the point that he was there.
it was cool, but it wasn't consistent. So I agree that the graphic effects were incredible, but the timing of like the subtlety in the mirror was inconsistent among his kills with absolutely no reason for it. When we have at first, people are like, oh, it's not real, and then they die, compared to the girls at school, where it's immediate. You know what I mean? Where it's like, I felt I would have wanted a little more consistency with the timeline of when he appears. And I will say it now, I did not like the CGI at the end. I know it's supposed to be cool. He's not scary when he hovers. It's not scary anymore. When he's just walking, because that's the whole point, right? Candyman can be any of us. Anyone that was looked down upon, mistreated, labeled, put in a box that they're not in. That's what's scary. What's terrifying to me is that anyone can relate to that, and his movements, everything about him was so human, but also grotesque at the same time. And that was a perfect clash. So when you kind of throw out the window to make him a minor deity, which is the only way I have of describing the end of the movie, it's like, okay.
Definitely have to agree there. The CGI at the end, it was a little bit lackluster. I mean, it would have been better if he would have just stood still on the ground, turned, and had that broadening look and looking right at the camera, delivering that line. And the CGI they used on the face to go ahead and blend together, um, it felt like it could have been done a little bit better, or a little bit more shadowing, if you will. But I do love the fact that they brought in all the bees and did that again, and really made the idea that when he delivers that line to you in an eerie sense, but at the same time of, like you said, anyone can be the Candyman. Anyone is essentially, they're responsible for their own actions. And in this situation here, he kind of feels like he could be considered the good guy and the bad guy at the same time.
Depends on who you ask.
True.
What's interesting to me, too, is they missed out on the chance for a perfect cameo with the bees. Why wasn't Jerry Seinfeld one of the bees?
Okay. That actually brings a funny point too, because someone actually mentioned that online a couple weeks ago, that someone should be, Jerry Seinfeld, his B character should be in Candyman.
I didn't know that. That's great.
Yeah, so that is just awesome that not only did I read about that, now we get Cody saying it too. So that works.
Can we also talk about how they make fun of the trope in the movie that in horror movies, how do I want to word this? White people are prone to do stupid things, and they poke so much fun at that in this movie. It's always a white person in this movie that's going to say Candyman. Like it's always, and just it's hysterical. So you always have their friends that are like, I'm out of here.
True, very very true. But at the same time, the idea that they used, I mean, anyone who's seen the original movie, of course, you're looking in the mirror or you're looking in the reflection or whatnot. But the main character's idea of being the artist, he literally brought the character to life by having a piece. And this artistic piece literally was a mirror. When you open it up, there is different pictures depicting the story of the Candyman. But the mirror itself, in his words, was inviting you to say his name, to invite him in. And the reality piece like that, it's so well put together, and it changes things. I mean, I enjoyed it, really did.
I wanted more out of it, but I did enjoy it.
I'll have to agree. I mean, I wish there was a little bit more. I mean, it wasn't the same as the originals, but for the style that it was done, it was still done well for our time period.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's 2021, and we're talking about a movie that is literally the combination of The Hookman and Bloody Mary. And we're having this conversation, so something was definitely done right. Because that's really what the Candyman was. It's a combination of two of the most popular urban legends that we heard as kids.
Yeah. I don't think I could have said it any better. I mean, Hookman and Bloody Mary, why not, right? Okay, now the big question. What did you think of the movie overall? I mean, scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the absolute perfect.
7.
7?
And that's high praise for a horror movie.
Okay. For me, I'm actually giving it a 6, believe it or not. I'm actually a little step below him.
That's weird.
I really wanted to see Tony Todd reprise his role in more predominant style, and
his voice was in it,
it just, what's that?
His voice was in it, wasn't it?
His voice was in there, but he was also in there.
Yeah.
At the very end. So, yep, sorry, spoilers, of course, but anyone knows about the show, we do go ahead and talk about the spoilers. He just was only in there for a small cameo, and honestly, I would have preferred if he was actually in it for a little bit more. For example, maybe they went ahead and used one person as the Candyman. Then they used another because one of the victims, he essentially said, when I saw the Candyman, I saw him as. So for him, his fear was the guy that was in the wall, dressed up in white and handing out little pieces of candy. Where other people's version of the Candyman could have been Tony Todd's. A little bit more broad with the bees coming out of the chest and more of a personification of fear, if you will. He had that look, he had that demeanor. So One was more creepy, one was just more, frightening. And yeah, I could have used a little bit more, do it some justice and bring in the OG there for a little bit more than what we got. But it was still decent for what it was.
Speaking of Tony Todd, if you do want to see Tony Todd play a very iconic role of someone dark and menacing and scary like we're talking about, look no further than the new Spider-Man 2 coming out from Insomniac on PlayStation, where he will be playing Venom.
That is true.
It's so good. The trailer's out. It's so good.
Well, that is another thing that we can definitely be looking for any of us who are gamers. I'm assuming a few of you out there should be. But, so that would be for the Candyman. Now, I've been constantly told I need to see this movie. Repetitively need to see this movie. And I did not get a chance to for a while. Took me a bit. But I was able to finally do so. Shang Chi, The Legend of the Ten Rings. We're going to go ahead and talk about this one now. And I have to say, you were right. Holy crap, was this an amazing movie. But what would you go ahead and actually like to start with first? The characters?
JC's point.
Okay. All right. Let's go ahead.
So my girlfriend JC, so we're all talking about movies, right? So obviously in this house, everyone's always talking about movies. It's what we do. Jerry gets home from seeing the movie. And we're talking about it. And JC goes, it's just so Disney. And it made us all stop for a second. And we're like, you're not. Where's the lie? Where's the lie there? And not in a bad way. I mean, who doesn't love Disney? But it was so good. But it definitely has the Disney epic kind of pacing it. It paces just like one. However, I would watch that Disney movie 1,000 more times.
Oh, yes. Now, the reason being, well, let's go ahead and get into it. I mean, we already know Shang-Chi deals with one of the best martial artist superheroes there is. So, let's go ahead and talk about the fight sequences. The bus sequence alone that you've probably seen in the trailer if you've not seen the movie, so well done, so greatly choreographed. It was just fun. But for me, aside from that, the one part that made it, I mean, we see a random guy fighting someone else. We see another guy go ahead and have a sword essentially for an arm. Okay, we've seen that in movies. But you don't see the guy on the side recording it saying, hey, man, this is your boy here podcasting. I used to take karate back in the day. I'm going to try rating this. Adding that little bit of comedy in there to the idea of an iconic fight scene taking place where he's fighting for his life while his best friend, who's like, who the hell are you? Not even knowing he can throw a punch, was just great. I mean, he was all over the place. I had the feel like Jackie Chan. He was, he was utilizing the bars. He was doing flips. He was curling around, sliding over things to the point where he was missing a barely, being able to fit into areas, and he pulled it off so well. I mean, this scene alone in the movie was just phenomenal.
Well, I think there's something to that. I think what you just described is exactly what the movie's supposed to be. So that guy recording the fight, that's all of us. So let's really think about this. Not only is it all of us, and we also are seeing the fight from his eyes. So we're really getting that connection to it. We're not getting any of that dissent. What's really unique is Shang-Chi. If you're not a hardcore comic fan, you probably have no idea who Shang-Chi is. And much like Guardians of the Galaxy, when Marvel was introducing this property into the film universe, right? They made a choice. And that choice was, if we take this seriously, it's going to tank because no one cares or knows who this is. But if we do it with a bit of a lighthearted kind of feeling, like the same kind of lighthearted feeling when you're meeting a new friend, and that's the way we treat Shang-Chi as a movie, it's going to do well. Much in a very similar way that Guardians of the Galaxy did well as an ensemble movie, because we didn't know or care about them necessarily. But because of the lightheartedness, because of we could laugh and watch them fight, we felt like we were being introduced to a new friend. And I'd like to be the first to welcome Shang-Chi as that new friend into the Marvel Universe, because that's really how it felt. Awkwafina being in there, oh my gosh. She made the movie, but...
Oh, yes. She, hands down, I mean, I didn't know who she was beforehand. He was mentioning about her, and I go watch this movie, and right from the beginning, her idealism, her character is just great. They get a car. She's got a straight face, and what happens? She runs over to it like a little kid. Like, no, 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 I'm going to do it. Yeah, no, come on. Just from there alone, all right, we got a person with a fun attitude. Where is this going to go? And it just goes everywhere. I mean, she's there. Her one-liners, her tropes, everything she does in this movie is great. And I couldn't have seen a better. I don't know how. I guess I could say a buddy cops story, if you will. You know, you get
Buddy ballet. I don't.
Oh, we'll go with that, buddy ballet. But no, here's a woman who literally comes in there. It's like, yeah, this guy can't fight. I go ahead and get in front of a bully, and what do? I start singing the lyrics to a song. Confuses idiots. Definitely.
For anyone that doesn't quite recognize the name Aquafina, you would have seen her in these little old movies like Crazy Rich Asians and Raya the Last Dragon, where she played the dragon. So it's a voice that I guarantee you'll be hearing a lot more of.
Agreed. But at a different note, you can't be the first to go ahead and welcome him, because at the end of the movie, Wong beat you to it.
Yeah, but I have better hair than Wong, so.
He's not wrong. He's definitely not wrong. He's also not Wong, but still, Wong wrong.
I will leave this room. You know, I want to talk about something in this, though.
All right.
So anyone that doesn't know, when I don't do this and when I'm not selling cable, I teach dance, and I did for years. So the dance of this movie. So I think when you have martial arts in movies, you really have like 2 or 3 distinct ways you can go. You can have it really tight, precise, big, cool. You can have it comical, like Jackie Chan.
Very true.
Or you can meet somewhere in the middle where it's the dance, the flow, all of that, which if you practice martial arts is very important. The way they introduce combat as a dance is not a new concept whatsoever, but it's done so well. The first time we see this beautiful scene in this magical area of essentially 2 lovers falling in love over fists is just absolutely incredible. I used to make fun of Aikido all the time as a gentle martial art. I've now seen a gentle martial art in this movie, and I am stuck on it. It felt like water. All of it, just the force of it, but the flow, the dance. And what's really unique is she was less dense than water in her fighting. You could see her above all, and I think that's important. Like the way that specifically her movements were, and you'll see who I'm talking about with her when you see the movie. Her movements are just so mystical, so pretty. Like it's almost like Mother Nature and gravity are also attracted to her, and they're not going to let a fist hit her. And that's my best way of describing that. All the forces on Earth are not going to interrupt this dance because they're mesmerized too.
Now, the interesting thing about this dance, as he's talking about the introduction between the leader of the 10 Rings and the protector of the little village of Ta Lo, they connect on such a level that it's phenomenal. But the last time I seen any type of flow like this, a beautiful choreography of a dance, was when we saw Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. And the part I'm referring to is that anyone who's seen the movie, when they're actually floating atop the trees, and you see Chow Yun-fat just gently gazing into her eyes while they're fighting. Yes, they are fighting. They're trying to hurt each other. But it's almost that element of, I see you, I understand you, and I feel you. With this fight sequence, I mean, it really wasn't even a fight. It was just more of a courtship, if you will. I mean, here's a throw to the ground, but at the same time, I'm not going down. Here is a twist around with a kick, and have to say, like you mentioned, her movements were nothing like water. They were more fluent. I'd have to say almost like air. Like she was literally just.
Well, she had wind powers.
Well, there's that, but still, I mean, it's hard to go ahead and actually say that without actually, describing the person's movements. I mean, she was so elegant, and it was beautiful.
I think I can explain. The water for me, it's both of them, but the water for me is specifically hinted in the way she reaches over for when he does the move where he grabs her by the hip gently to stop her. That's the water moment for me. Because right before that, there's the force of the rotation. And then it settles through. It doesn't settle like earth
Yes.
or fire where it clashes. It moved through. And that's kind of where I get the water piece from. And I think Bruce Lee would agree because he also agrees you should be like water. I don't know. I wanted to sound cool in martial artsy too. This is more Jerry's thing. But I love watching martial arts. So
Hey, he's not wrong. But a lot of the movements there, he is accurate. It's like water, how stopping, how moving around. But some of the other elements around there, just like her footwork, her movements with the arms, as in when she's dodging, it's almost like he's cutting through air. Like there's no possible way he can even touch her. And it's not so much as water; it's literally like a light flow. It's hard to describe, but watching it will make a lot more sense. I mean, the movie is just absolutely beautiful on many different elements. Now, for the big fight scene that I know we wanted to go ahead and talk about, Wong versus Abomination.
they have a superhero fight club. It's amazing.
Who would have thought, of all things, in the superhero movies? I mean, we got billionaires who are flying around in metal suits. We've got space aliens who are actually abducting kids and then training them to go ahead and be the greatest warriors in the galaxy. And now we have a fight club that brings them all together so they can go ahead and fight, earn money, and let off a little steam.
My thing is, why are we all sleeping on my man's Wong? Like, he is by far MVP of the Central Park fight in Infinity War. With the way he bodies Obsidian. Just absolutely bodies him. In fact, he's even invited to Tony Stark's wedding. Oh, rip. But my thing is, where was the cool, like, so they use magic and like they're like how they use weapons in the Doctor Strange kind of universe of things. His airwalking with that, where the heck has that been in the rest of the MCU?
I do not know. I honestly could not tell you.
Because it's so cool.
It is. But no, the whole idea, I mean, anyone who's familiar with Abomination from either the comics or the movies, you're looking at one of the only creatures to actually rival the Incredible Hulk. And they utilized that in the Incredible Hulk with Edward Norton a while back. Abomination, played by Tim Ralph. And here is a guy that is now in a fight club who is going up against Doctor Strange's essentially right-hand man, Wong. All for money. But the way it's done, how everything's done, it was so well done. I mean, for lack of words and empathy to the point right there, it's something you got to see, even if just for a little bit, because it is fun. You got to get a little bit of that, what's the word I'm looking for? You got to go ahead and have a little change of pace in there with the, other people coming in like that.
Yeah.
And it really breaks things up, It makes it a flow for the story,
Yeah. I'd agree.
Now, aside from that, we had great martial arts in this movie. We had comedy from Aquafina. Now, don't get me wrong, Shang Chi, unlike any other superhero that we've seen in the MCU, his character is more of a goofball. I mean, when he's ready to go ahead and fight, he's straightforward. He is serious. But just him as himself, when he's down, I mean, he is okay. Let's have fun.
Yeah, I think people can relate to him. That's the point of him. He's just Shang-Chi being a newcomer to the MCU is a perfect time, I think, for people that aren't. I mean, you have to be living under a rock to not watch any of these Marvel movies over the last 10, 12 years. But if you're getting into it now, the new generation of heroes, I think Shang-Chi was the smart choice because we're there with Shang-Chi. We're learning about this new universe with him because the Marvel universe isn't the same anymore.
That is true. Now, like you mentioned earlier about how it felt like it was a Disney film. Now, we've seen many of the other MCU movies, and the scenery is phenomenal in any of the movies. Their set designs, their CGI, everything. But this movie takes a whole new level. I mean, there are scenes of the jungle. There's the village of Talau, how they built that, how it looks. I mean, it feels like you're back in either Mulan or Raya. The Last Dragon. It really does feel that way. Beautifully done. I mean, the trees, the animals. Mind you, we're in a mystical realm at this point.
Lions and dragons and aliens, oh my.
He's got a point there, and it has one heck of a fight using the dragon, the creatures, all of this, and it's so beautiful. It really is. I didn't want it to end, although I had to go home. So
we will confirm Fin Fang Foom is in the movie.
in a sense, I'm going to have to say yes, but at the same time, not quite.
That's good. It's the MCU's version of Fin Fang Foom.
Okay, well, there we go. Yes. So they went ahead and took a little bit away from the Fang and went ahead and gave us the Fin Foom.
I just never thought they'd actually put him in an MCU movie, like ever. I was like, the dragons are a little. Then we got Iron Fist, so I mean, you never know.
Yeah, that is true. So, but no, absolutely beautiful. Now, what else could I actually say about this movie that we haven't already said without getting too much? Okay, we'll cut straight to the chase. Yes. Okay, go see the movie. Hands down, one of the best MCU movies that's been around for a while. Can't go ahead and take away from Iron Man because, hey, he started it all, and that was epic on its own level.
Oh, if we're doing this. I mean, Iron Man is an important movie. It is nowhere near one of the best MCU movies. That title belongs to Captain America Winter Soldier.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and have that little argument, but that'll be a next time. But,
a political thriller with superheroes? Come on now.
Still political thriller, even for Iron Man, when you think about it, between two conglomerates basically trying to take out a CEO to take over the world.
But George St. Pierre's in Captain America. He's Barra.
I can't argue. Yeah.
That scene is so great, where it's like, I thought you were more than just your shield, and Cap's like, you know what? Sure.
He's got a point. GSP was in the movie, and you can't go wrong with that. Plus, his honorable fight right there.
And it's not a fight that he won by decision for once.
No, it was not. So it's a fight he lost, but still.
It's still a fight he finished. It's more than we can say.
Okay. Granted, there's that. Yes. All right. So
UFC jokes.
Yeah, that could get us in trouble. No, just kidding. So I'm going to have to say for this movie here, I'm giving it a 9.
Yeah.
Definitely a 9. I mean, great martial arts, great comedy, great flow, great cameos in there. I mean, you have a little bit of everything. If you're an Asian fan of and if you're a fan of any type of Asian films, martial arts movies, or anything, I mean, you go ahead and see Tony Leung in here. You go ahead and see Aquafina from some of the others. There's a lot of different people you see, but one of the biggest people that was a complete surprise to me that someone didn't even tell me, Michelle Yeoh is in the movie. Now, we're looking at a woman who has actually been in Jackie Chan films, her own films. She has been a Bond girl as well. She's done it all. And all of a sudden, she appears right on the screen, and it's like, oh, I had no words at that point. What can I say? I'm a huge fan, I'm
going to smack you for that pun.
I don't know what pun he's referring to, but okay, we're going to go with that.
Huge fan?
All right, yeah. I can see where he's going now. But nonetheless, so for me, that was a great one there. No, overall, definitely need to see it. There's anything else you want to go ahead and say about that? Because I know you knew a lot more about Shang-Chi than I did from both the comics and...
I just want the nunchucks. And I want the orange jumpsuit. So what's really interesting is that Shang-Chi right now is super important in the Marvel Comics. For anyone that's a big comic reader like me, Shang-Chi is currently leading the 10 Rings in the comic books and not making friends with the rest of the Marvel heroes because he's not a bad guy, but Shang-Chi is not as whimsical in the comics. He's very calm. He's a very big meditator. He's currently, I believe, our mystical expert on the Avengers right now.
Okay. All right.
So I do think they did him well, and I think if they can come up with the right idea for how to use him, and as long as he's more than just an ensemble character now, like I will need another Shang-Chi movie and I want to see his growth. My fear is that we're going to get him as just fall into the background as part of the ensemble.
I could see that, but they've been doing us right so far with a lot of the movies and the flow, so maybe we will not have that worry about that. So only time will tell, unfortunately, but he's got a point. I do want to see the nunchucks. I mean, granted, he had the staff and he had the rings, but the nunchucks, I want to see that, definitely.
I wanted to see him slap a dragon in the face with a nunchuck. Who does it?
Okay. Yeah, but it'd have to be a different dragon because this dragon was good.
I don't care. Slap all the dragons. They're nunchuck. If this mystical, magical, thousands of years creature is beaten by wooden or chain nunchucks, then the race deserves to be extinct.
Okay. I got nothing on that one. I honestly don't. You really threw me for a loop on that one. Did not expect that.
I've been thinking about the nunchucks a lot, okay?
I can tell.
Also, cool cars and stuff. There was some really fun, like, just nightlife, like the lighting. My shout out to the canopy scene, or like the scene where they're fighting on the building.
Yes.
So good. And like the nightlife of where, like, this, the set design, all of it was so cool.
Now that you mentioned that, that actually brought something up. Some of the parts in the film actually reminded me of other movies. So it was as if they took it from the other movies and put it in this one. Now, the scaffold scene you're talking about when they're on the side of the building. Anyone who remembers Rush Hour remembers that there was a fight sequence on the scaffolds on the side of the building as well. And very similar, including the pole going ahead and actually falling and almost going all the way down because someone's on the end of it. So quite similar, but they took it their own way, which made it their own movie. The other, of course, is the famous bus scene that I was referring to. Well, the brakes go out. So who's got to get behind the wheel but Aquafina? A woman driving a bus to go ahead and save everyone so that they don't die. Kind of sounds a little familiar.
Spider-Man 2. Wait, no.
Okay. The worst part is I thought about that, but I wasn't actually going to say it. No, Speed.
Yeah. If they had like crowd surfed Shang Chi to the front of the bus, I'm like, it's Spider-Man. Cash money for pictures of Spider-Man.
Yep. Which actually brings up our next movie afterwards, but we're going to go to a quick commercial, and then we will go ahead and be talking about Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage.
Oh, yeah. Life just got sweeter now that WLFE DB has merchandise. Show your support by purchasing your t-shirts for WLFE, Paratalk Radio, Inside the Drag Closet, and more. But it doesn't stop there. T-shirts, coffee mugs, tanks, buttons, cloth bags, and more. Go to WLFE-DB.com. On the top bar, click on the merchandise tab and bam, there you go. You got merch. Support the shows. WLFE-DB.com.
Try again, buddy. Try again. Yay! Okay. Oh yeah! Good job. Oh.
The Bipolar DM Show, a show about Dungeons and Dragons, indie writing, and living with a mental illness. Watch us live on Saturdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on WLFE-DB.com, where we interview guest speakers, authors, and subject matter experts in the areas of mental health, living well, and role-playing games. We're proud supporters of Safe Space. For more information, be sure to visit WLFE-DB.com. Watch us live on Strim TV, Variety Unlimited channel. Also, visit our Facebook page at BipolarDM and see us on twitch.tv/TheBipolarDM. Our webpage is www.TheBipolarDM.com. There you'll find more information.
You're listening to WLFE DB Radio. Now back to our program.
All right, welcome back. So we were just talking about a movie that we were going to be talking about on our next show, but we'll go ahead and let you know about that later on. Right now, we're going to get into Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage, the continuation from the first one with Tom Hardy playing Eddie Brock as Venom. And we also had Woody Harrelson bringing in a role as, was it Cletus Cassidy?
Cletus.
Cletus Cassidy.
Cletus. It's spelled like Cletus, pronounced like Cletus. You're right both times.
Either way, as Carnage. Now, trying to go ahead and continue from the first one, it's not that hard because they did a good job opening it up, but the flow of this one seemed more buddy and let's go ahead and try making more comical jokes while rehashing the same from the first one. So it was a little different, but at the same time, it was still fun. Now, Eddie's character, of course, still seems to be, like the loser he was from the first one, as he said. But due to certain events, things started to change around for him. But we had a very interesting introduction that we saw at the end of Venom with Woody Harrelson's character, and how they continued with this one to make it flow for the introduction of Carnage was quite interesting. What do you think about this?
I don't like that they had a perfectly viable scene for the post-credit in 2, and then kept the idea but retconned like the order of events for absolutely no reason in the movie. Because they had the end of Venom had Eddie actually interested in talking to Cletus, not the other way around. Which this one was way more realistic, where Cletus just wants attention from a reporter.
Yep.
And isn't that what this movie's about? Broken friendships, broken hearts.
Yes.
First heart to break was Cletus, not because of his Sonic friend, because of Eddie. He just wanted Eddie to give him a platform, and I blamed the whole thing on Eddie. So, I truly believe, like most things, this movie was Eddie's fault.
I have to agree. I kind of find it funny, too. I mean, we're looking at a movie that essentially has a character that was one of Spider-Man's villains, but at the same time, they're utilizing the same storyline of Spider-Man, if you will, who, no matter what he does, everything bad happens to him. He's one of the few superheroes who has the worst luck with life, girlfriends, work, everything. I mean, bad luck. And here we have Eddie, who had it all, and due to the fact of being just a little bit arrogant, decided he wanted a little bit more, and he paid the price.
It was the most comic accurate description of Eddie Brock ever. He had it all, and then just let it go.
Yep.
I think that's why he hates Peter so much. Part of it, because Peter's an example of this Eddie himself, but getting past that second hurdle, getting that second win. But that's neither here nor there. It was cool. The visual effects were stunning. Carnage looks so cool. But just like the first Venom, you got big alien monster. Big alien monster. I want to see them punch each other more. Tendrils are cool. Throw-in is cool. But I just wanted to see Venom cold clock him. That's what I wanted, because that's funny to me. And that's what Eddie would do.
Oh, yes. Yes, he would. But in this Eddie, this one likes to go ahead and stay away from conflict. If we've noticed from the first one and the second one here, he's not the type to go ahead and throw the punch. In fact, he's more of the type to let's stay off to the side. Quite interesting because anyone who knows Eddie, he was actually the one who normally would throw the first punch in the comics. But it's kind of a different story for this one. But I
It's
kind of
closer to Eddie now, because Eddie's a good guy now.
True. Yes, he is a good guy now compared to how he was originally before.
I'm not going to give it away, but there is another symbiote in the movie. And I really am excited for you guys to comment or message on Facebook when you figure it out, because it took us a second to figure it out right after the movie. And my gosh. But I feel very confident about it, and the rest of the internet agrees. There is a very, very famous symbiote in it, and I'm excited about it. I don't want to give away what happens in the post-credit scene. This is one that I very specifically want you guys to go and see, because it's just so much fun for what the future holds. But again, I didn't have the highest hopes for this. If I'm being completely honest, the first Venom felt like a superhero movie from the 2000s with the Eminem song in the credits and all. Like, it really did feel like a 2000s superhero movie back when we really didn't understand how to make a superhero movie. We made fun movies. We made family fun movies. But we didn't know how to capture the essence of the story, except for Spider-Man 2. But that's just a golden piece of film that you will never get a podcast without me talking about it. It's just so perfect.
Which means, I guess he's inviting us to go ahead and actually do a show where we actually talk about Spider-Man 2 directly, because he needs an outlet.
I do.
So
I mean, the Messiah complex in it, everything. Like, I know we're talking about Venom here, but Venom and Spider-Man are linked anyway. So
true.
What's so incredible about Spider-Man is the message anyone can be behind the mask. And there's no better way to show that than in Spider-Man 2 especially, the idea of New Yorkers doing what they do best as New Yorkers and standing their ground and helping Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. Those are the scenes that give me goosebumps. Like, again, the famous train scene in Spider-Man 2 where they're passing him up and they put the mask back on his face. Because what else are you going to do? They love Spider-Man. Because it could be anyone. We all should be Spider-Man. And I think this directly links to Venom 2, because I think Eddie's struggling with this too. Eddie views himself as just the poor sap that happened to get stuck with this alien symbiote. But now we get to examine, did Venom get stuck with Eddie?
Definitely a good point. I mean, in the movie, he goes in and says that Eddie is a perfect match for him. Now, he also says at the end of the first movie that he's kind of a loser on his home planet as well. So we're kind of looking at two Eddie Brocks, if you will. Same personality, same bad luck, same style from two different universes, essentially. So kismet, if you will, that they're made for each other.
Woody Harrelson, fantastic.
Oh, yes.
He was a great Carnage, but he's still not who I would have chose to play Carnage. I was really holding out for Jim Carrey. Truly.
I don't know. I mean, I could see it to a point, but I wanted something a little bit more for Carnage, and I think Woody Harrelson did a good job.
Oh, for sure.
It really felt like we got natural-born killers with a symbiote. That's what it felt like. I mean, here he is killing people. He's got a love. They get together, great car, and killing people. It's natural-born killers all over again.
So that's my issue with it, though, is because there's too much Cletus. Carnage can't go back and forth. That's the whole point of Carnage. Like, Carnage is just Carnage. And we kind of get hints at that, but I don't think it's... I don't know. I loved the look of Carnage, but I would have liked Jim Carrey specifically for the old school look of Carnage. Not the big Carnage, but just like that slimmer Carnage with like the symbiote axe for a hand.
Okay.
Jim Carrey would have killed that. But give us more Carnage. We got Woody Harrelson for a while, and then suddenly he was living life, and then we had a 40-minute climax. Like, there was not a lot of story involved in Venom 2.
No. Unfortunately, there was not.
Which, again, if there's no story, let's just have aliens punching each other. It's not a hard formula.
No, it's not. Put one on one side, put another, put a chicken in the middle. Okay, now they fight over share. There you go.
The chickens were fantastic.
Yes.
I'm upset though that in the trailer they had like that one guy being a roommate and that wasn't a part of the movie. I wanted the random roommate. I was looking forward to him.
Yes. Yeah, that would have been fun. For me, I was looking forward to one line that I saw in the trailer just because Venom doesn't take prisoners. He's not scared of anything. I'm going to go ahead and take things right on here. I can fix your body. I can do everything. Oh, shit, it's a red one. Never mind. And he hides back. He literally just puts his tail between his legs and hides back into Eddie.
See, he's never seen this shit before.
And he's right there inside his body. He's come out now. Big red guy. I need help. No, not going to go. I'll let you eat anyone you want. Promise? The only way to get him out to go ahead and fight. So seeing him actually completely fearful was hysterical, but at the same time, it finally humanized him in a way, if you will, for his character compared to the first movie. And I wanted to see how well the rest of the scene played out for that, which I have to say it played out pretty well.
Oh, for sure.
Now, the rest of the movie, like you said, the storyline, it wasn't quite there. There was more that was, that we wanted. There was more that could be done. But still, for what we got, it wasn't bad. Now, the CGI, phenomenal, hands down. The action sequences that we saw, not bad.
I'll go out and say it. My primary issue is that we shouldn't have got Carnage yet. I wanted the Lethal Protector storyline, which we're kind of getting. And oh my gosh, I was so happy he uttered the words Lethal Protector. But it didn't make sense. Carnage is unique because Carnage is the reason that Venom and Spider-Man have to team up for the very first time in the comic books. Venom's not evil. Venom just hates Spider-Man because the symbiote's a scorned lover. It's always trying to get back to Peter because Peter was the most powerful host it had ever had because Peter had natural powers. And fun fact, that is why Venom and Carnage have spider-like powers is because they copied that from Spider when the symbiote was on Spider-Man for so long.
Yes.
But anyways, I wanted to see more symbiotes in this. I would have liked to see Toxin fight in this movie. I would have liked to see Lash, since we saw Lash in the first one. Because then when we eventually get this merge over that's going to happen, we know that because of Sony, Venom coming into the MCU to help Peter with Carnage would have been... and would have given us more time for the story. It was too rushed. This felt like Venom 1 kind of tanked, even though it did well money-wise. Didn't do well critically, and they needed to keep our attention. So how better do you do that? Let's throw Carnage at it, which, okay, it worked. I went and saw it immediately. Yeah. But it's lazy.
And that's one of the biggest problems. I mean, take a look at the formula that we've had for the MCU. They took it slow. They took it right. And they gave us what we needed when we needed it. And then when we finally got Avengers, it wasn't rushed. It was well put together. There was no worry about talking about a backstory. Even though they did a little bit, it was enough to the point that we could say a few words and you're good. You knew everything about the characters and the flow was perfect. But with Venom, it was rushed. The first movie, we're already in action. We're going up against another symbiote. We're looking at Riot, And then, like you said, hey, let's go ahead and make the second one. What are we going to do? Well, we need to get someone interested. So how do we do that? Carnage. Because who doesn't know Carnage from any Venom comic book? If you know Venom, you know Carnage. But it was a mistake on their part, in my opinion. I think it's, what's the term that we're looking for? Jumping the shark. I think that's what they did with this one by putting the Carnage in.
Putting the horse in front of or putting the cart in front of the horse. I almost had put the horse in front of the cart, but that's just how carts work.
Yes, that is how carts work. But in Russia, cart pulls horse.
That makes me think of something interesting.
I'm going to go ahead and get hit. I know I am. But anyways.
If we're going to make Soviet Russia jokes, take Venom's speech pattern and try to make all of that into a Soviet Russia joke, it's kind of impossible, and it's really funny that that's what breaks the joke, if you kind of get what I'm saying there. We are Venom. There's no way to be like in Soviet Russia, oh God, it's still we are Venom.
Yes.
It broke it.
Yep.
But I did want to hear that too. I wanted to hear we are Venom again.
But it got cut out. And not because of the studios or anyone cut it and wasn't going to put it in there. It literally got interrupted physically in the movie.
Yep.
So it was kind of a little slap in the face for that, but at the same time, it made a little sense. When you watch the film, you'll see what we mean.
I could have done without the makeout scene. That tongue is just strange.
Yeah. But it did make for a little bit of comedy with that too, including the love-hate relationship of Dan.
I love Dan. So funny.
Fun character added into the movie. You've seen him in the first one. The love interest to Dr. Dan. Michelle Williams plays Anne, which was Eddie's girlfriend, and then now becomes a lover to Dan. And with the whole idea of him trying to get back, it's not going to work. So Venom absolutely hates Dan, and just some of the stuff that happens in there, the conversations, the physicality.
What was that? But at the same time, that kiss was the best part of the first one. Just like that. Was that? Did you have to? No, that was his idea.
Yeah, right. Oh, so good. But no, overall, I'd have to say, visual-wise, phenomenal. Story, a little bit lacking. Action, definitely up there. So I'm going to have to give it a 7, just because of the action and the visuals.
Ironically, this is the one that I give a 6. So we're reversed from the earlier.
That is, okay, that is.
Which is odd, because you'd be someone that I would expect to like Candyman more, and if it has to do with capes and tights, I'm about it.
Yeah.
Not what... Okay, sometimes what you think, but no.
On that note. But, so that would be our review for today. We were talking about later on this month, the October 30th, the day before Halloween. We're going to be looking at doing a Halloween special. So we're going to talk about some of our favorite films that we grew up watching, some of our go-to Halloween movies. And at the same time, since this month, a couple days ago, actually, the newest installment, Halloween Kills, was released. And we're going to go ahead and talk about that one on the next show. So if anyone is interested in joining, would like to go ahead and discuss some of the films that they grew up watching, or if they want to text and comment on the show, anything, by all means, come on, let us know. And we can go ahead and have a nice, fun one then. But until then, we're going to go ahead and call it a night. And thank you guys for joining us today.
Thank you. Bye.
Have a great day to everyone. And until next time, we will see you then.
Like and follow us on Facebook at WLFE DB Radio.